Well, hello gardeners, welcome back. So we are in my backyard yet again, Vero Beach, Florida, zone 10A. And if you guys were around a couple weekends ago, we did a backyard tour of this side of my garden. That we're gonna do a part 2 for the other side of the walkways. Because if you guys are new to Florida and you're thinking of kind of recreating a similar type of effect to what I have going on back here, I wanted you to have enough information to where you can say, oh yes, that's gonna work in my space, whether it gets sun, little sun, whether it needs a good amount of water. You can take it from a landscape designer. I've been doing this for over 25 years. This is my space, this is my jam, this is my personal garden. I know it might not appeal to everybody, but I like the tropical style. I like that jungle style. I like being involved in almost like a resort-like garden, even though I live on a teeny tiny slice of land here in Vero Beach, Florida. So I've tried to make my space feel more like a resort. This is a very low maintenance section of my garden. So come on, you guys, let's jump right in. All right, you guys, so right where we left off, this is the rear corner of my property. This is my whole backyard space, you guys. I have like a drainage easement down the middle of my backyard space, and then it's pretty much plants on both sides of that drainage easement. So Bryce, pan over a little bit to my neighbor's yard. This is my neighbor Dawn's yard. She is the sweetest neighbor I have. I just absolutely love her. She's kept her yard pretty natural, and that's pretty much what my garden looked like when I first moved in. So right here on the very corner, we have the red cone ginger. This is the red variety, even though it has more of a pink tone to it. It is a beautiful striking red as it matures. You can kind of see it, and they really open up to a nice tall bloom. Now these blooms last for months and months. So it is really striking when the whole thing really starts to come together. Blooms all summer long. Unfortunately, this particular variety really does need to be in a warm climate. And once it hits that 30, 32 degree range, really does not like it. You're gonna have to cut it back and then let it flush back out. You wanna do filtered light when it's in a pot because it can't take too much of that harsh rays because it can really burn. Make sure it gets good water, and then it will kind of flush out and be gorgeous and beautiful. And then during those cool nights that you have, pop it into the garage and put it into safety, and then pop it back out through the rest of the year, and it does fabulous. So if you guys have a cluster in the garden, especially around a corner or maybe a backdrop around behind a pool area or a water feature, red cone ginger is ideal. I love it when it's hot pink and really goes to town and fills in this whole corner area. So right down here, I have a little collection of some Tennessee boulders. I absolutely love putting them on corner areas, especially when I'm trying to soften something. So it also disguises the connection of two edging. So I have Buta edging right along this edge, and then I have the aluminum alloy edging right across this edge. Edging is important on my garden because both sides slant pretty aggressively, and I really want a nice tight path. I want a tight area of mulch and plantings, then a tight area of stone, and edging does a good job of controlling those two things. We kind of have a little forefront with the boulders here. Right where I'm standing is a great look for a really cool either statue or a pot with something popping out of the middle of it to kind of give us a secondary tier. That's a perfect way to offer some different kind of layering in the garden and making it interesting, and then also soften the two connections of the different types of edging for this particular space. All right, you guys, so coming around the corner is Song of India. Now we just have a little clustering. There's not much going on. There are exactly 3 Song of India in this little grouping, and that's all it takes. And what I wanted was, we have the darkness of the ginger, we have the darkness of the ice tone crotons as a backdrop. So having something with a little bit of brightness in a dark spot is always my goal. So I'm always looking for light and dark combinations in the garden, and Song of India do that. They have that beautiful yellow and green tone, and then when it gets more shade, it's more of a white and green kind of tone. So that combination really speaks to me. But you can keep them a bush forever. They do not need to be that tall. You can keep them chunky, you can keep them full. Every time you trim one of these individual limbs, it produces 2 new heads, and I'm going to continue to do that. So that's an easy way to keep this a long-term colorful bush. If I wanted one to kind of come right through here and kind of be nice and tall in the midst of all of these guys, that's an absolute possibility. You could totally train it to be a tree as a centerpiece in that group. And it's kind of like a wonky kind of cousin it type of tree, which I love. They can handle full sun. They can handle filtered light. They can handle almost all shades. So a plant that's that versatile, I find a lot of uses for it in the garden. And I think it does a great job of kind of capturing, kind of taking your eye and zooming right into that particular spot. It can be kept like this forever if that's your choice. So directly behind those Song of India are a little clustering of 4 of the ice tone crotons. Now these ice tone crotons, they're a little bit darker than they are in the sunny areas. This is a little bit of a filtered light, more of a shaded spot, especially now that this tree has really come into this area and the gingers are kind of unfolding over top of it. This spot gets a little bit more shade, and then it allows my ice tone crotons to have a little bit of a deeper tone. Ice tone crotons in general are a chunkier croton. They're going to really kind of stay easy care, low maintenance. I haven't trimmed these guys since I put them in. So about 8 months ago. They can really live in a space for a long period of time and stay chunky and more compact. Now I'll get Bryce to pop up a picture because I really do want you to have a good representation of what those look like more in the sun. Early morning sun to midday sun, they have more of those pink tones, more vibrant colorations. This is my weight, this is my thickness here, but the focal point in my garden is the triple bottle palm. You guys know how much I love the bottle palms, and if you love a single, you're gonna love a triple. This is gonna be an absolute stunner. I have one in my front yard that I'm in love with. This one is fairly young. It's been in the garden for about a year, kind of starting to open up. They're more compact when they're newly planted. As they grow and search for the sun, they really widen out, so they become a cool sculpture in the garden. They have that big bulbous base. If they're a fairly young tree, they don't want to be in the full sun. They like filtered light protection. They can handle all morning sun that you want, but towards that afternoon sun, they can really brown out on you. If you have an area that has maybe some canopy coverage where you have a palm tree over top of it, or you have an oak tree over top of it, anything like that, it is a perfect place to kind of pop a bottle palm underneath of there. Now, what's great about the bottle palm is it does not get enormous. So a bottle palm on average is going to get around 14 foot tall and then stop growing. So there's not many Florida trees that are going to offer you that kind of look, especially with a clean, cool trunk as the bottle palm. And I've got a couple singles right behind me that have been full grown for a good 10 years. And that is as big as they're going to get. And I just think they're absolute stunners in the garden with this big bulbous base. I wrap myself around it. It is just huge. This tree has been like this forever. They're a fabulous, fabulous tree to work with in the garden. Great understory tree amongst all of the other big canopy trees. Deserves its place in the garden, especially a Florida garden. Oh, you guys, I just want to pop in here real quick. For those of you guys who have put in comment after comment about our book, thank you so much for asking about the book that we've been talking about for, I don't know, 7 or 8 months now, maybe a year now. We have been editing. We have finished the book. I am so thrilled that the book is at the final edit count. Now we are waiting for Amazon to take up that next step and into printing, and we don't quite know how long that's going to take, but it should be very soon. And I want to thank you guys for following up and asking about it, because we have worked diligently on this book and we wanted it to be something that we are super proud of. So Bryce and I have spent countless hours making sure that this book is exactly what we wanted before it left the shelves. So it gave you guys as much information as absolutely possible on these Florida plants and trees that we love and the best way to use them. So the book is coming out. I hope you like it. I cannot wait to hear from you guys on it. Woo. So let's get back to the video. So directly behind the triple bottle palm are 3 individual plants. The one to the far left is the Camo Dieffenbachia, are also called dumb cane plant. That camo is getting more sun than the one on the left. You can really tell the difference in what they're offering, but I still love them as a backdrop plant. They're going to get some size to them, about 5 or 6 foot tall. I can trim them, I can keep them a little bit lower than that, but I kind of want them to really create a kind of a soft buffering along my black fence there. The Aglaonemas have a tendency to get wider and chunkier, and so that's why it's the centerpiece in that spot. It's really going to open up and kind of give us a bright spot. Anything to the back of a garden, I love sticking things in that have a lot of light coloring to them. That just draws your eye and it makes the bed look like it has more depth. So down below, you guys, we have 3 dwarf ixoras, because sometimes 3 is all it takes. Those guys are doing super well. I didn't want something that was going to compete or overgrow the bottle palm, and dwarf ixoras do a great job of staying compact and small with little leaves. Now, this area only gets morning sun, so right now we don't have a lot of blooms on them, but in average, I have 5 to 6 blooms during the summer months. This is a full sun plant. It can handle filtered light, can handle morning sun. This area only gets early morning sun, and then it kind of stops from there. So for me, what was really important was to not have too much maintenance around the base of this tree, because I do love to see the base of this tree, especially as it gets a little bit larger. When I start taking off these sheds here, because once that comes off, then you really see the bulbous base. It's just still a little young of a tree. So I definitely want to keep a little skirt planting here that was just not too much work or not too cluttered in this particular spot, because it's generally a small spot. All right, so as we move just past that section, this is one of my favorite little areas. You know, this was kind of a nice surprise, and why I love pots in the garden. When you have spots in your garden, wait for that perfect pot that you find on Marketplace or a pottery shop, because I love this pot in the garden. It's the perfect size. I waited until I found this Dayun palm that I love in the garden. I wanted something that I knew would either be vertical, like a cleared trunk with a canopy to it, or something vertical like a sculpture like this Dayun palm. And I think that this Dayun palm really did the trick. I think that was the perfect fit for this spot. What I have is excellence crotons that wrap around it. These crotons are very old. They're a good 12 years old. I wanted something here where I can let these guys get some size, but I needed something to pop out of the middle of it without it getting too tall. So when you have a pot, you can really control what you want to use in it. So a Dayun palm is an ideal plant to use because it needs little water, overall tough when it comes to pests and other issues, and it's kind of up and out of the way. Anytime I do need to trim a frond, it's like right in my face, so it's super easy to get to. It's become a perfect low maintenance feature. It's going to get about 2 foot taller than it currently is, and that's it. It's not going to outgrow the spot forever and ever and ever, and it's going to become a big kind of crown in this particular spot. Pop to boulder right in front of it, and then voila, we have a little feature grouping here. I have some dreads crotons down below. It is a kind of curly leafed, kind of crazy croton. I've had them for about a year now, and I love them in down south gardens, but I've had pest problems with them. I've had issues with them in my garden, and I'm not super happy with them in my particular space. So I'm going to give them another 6 months. If they're not going to work in the garden and they're just really not going to really pop out and give me some of that good color that I was really hoping from them, I might switch them out to something else that kind of fits this spot a little bit better. But that is my honest review on these particular crotons. A lot of my garden is kind of in the filtered light, more protected with the palm trees. This particular spot right here is full sun. Now, when you have that going on in your space and you're not able to remodify all your irrigation to fit sun, no sun, the best thing that you can do is really modify your plants and trees to fit the irrigation that you currently have. Irrigation is a big part of keeping your plants super happy and healthy, but I can't run separate zones for this section versus that section. So I went with more of a drought-tolerant plant material in this particular spot. These are some tried and true tough plants that really work in this kind of environment. So right here, right off the bat, this is a dwarf jasmine tree. Just look at the movement in this particular tree. She blooms a beautiful white flower that offers a lovely fragrance. Hence why I have her right here on the corner near my seeding section. Anytime I have a seeding section that I spend time in, I do try to stick something in with some fragrance. My back arbor has a variegated Confederate jasmine that just lights up the backyard with fragrance. Because it blooms all summer long, I just get that soft, subtle fragrance. It has like a citrusy smell to it, and I just love how plants and trees will do that to you. Just extra bonus in life. I wanted a little bit of a raised area here, a little bit of an impact here. So we have the Tennessee boulders that I've used as an edging along this area. And it wasn't just for the purpose of the beauty of this edging. I needed this landscaping to not sit low at all, because when you have drought-tolerant plants, what do you need most? You need drainage in a garden. So everything here is planted about 5 inches above grade. So it's slightly bermed up along this area, so that way I don't have any trouble with this being underwater during our heavy storms. So this is a subtle retaining wall, and I think that that just kind of adds more charm and more interest to the garden. Right in the center, I have a false agave. This is the dark green variety with the yellow center, or sometimes of the year it's more of a white center. It's going to be a gorgeous tall feature. Now, this is the taller of the false agaves. I wanted something that's going to get about 3 foot taller than what it currently is, and it's really going to do that and become that centerpiece coming over top of the deck. Directly behind it is my foxtail ferns, and I just have a curved swath of foxtail ferns. When you have something that's more of a sharp tone, something more of like that's bold and crazy, having something like this that's soft and this a perfect kind of bedding plant. It creates such a great contrast. It just makes you want to bend over and touch it just like this. So I love using these guys for that. Now they're fairly young. This is their first year in the garden, but I'll get Bryce to slide in a picture of what they look like after a few trimming cycles. When you trim these guys, you pretty much handle them just kind of like a ponytail here, and you trim all along the bottom of it. So that way you keep that vertical aspect. After a good year, they really do show off almost that vertical and chunky look of them. Kind of gives you an architectural detail in the garden. I love the way that looks. These three here are flame agaves. This here is a foxtail agave, no thorns to it, very soft, such a beautiful plant. This one has a little bit of thorns right along this edge here. Not crazy, not terrible. They still kind of give you that succulent kind of look. Gorgeous together as a grouping. They really kind of pop out and lean against each other and really give you that kind of tropical lily pad kind of leaf. And I love the way they look as a backdrop. And through the cracks, I often use purslane or portulaca. That's a great summer annual. These all cut back. They'll flush back out in the spring, but they're a gorgeous little plant that blooms consistently, other than when I seem to be filming, because they're never in bloom. But they do bloom a gorgeous pink, vibrant pink flower. I know it's kind of hard to see here. I'll try to get Bryce to pop in a picture of what they look like when they're in full bloom. Down below, I have mammy crotons. So I have three on this side wrapping around the front of this banana leaf croton. I love the mammy crotons. They're big, like a fireball display, really, really bright and contrasting color. Super easy to stay this size. This is about the height that I want to let them get, maybe a tad bit taller, but then they can be that way forever, you guys. You can keep them chunky, you can keep them small, and they'll widen out at the base. They can take the heat of full sun or bounce back heat from a walkway or a pool deck. They'll handle that like a champ, and they'll give you that giant fireball kind of red look to it and really give you a good bit of concealment from, you know, whatever you're trying to hide behind it. So that's kind of how I use mammy crotons. I'll cluster them in a big grouping to the front of something like this. Something that really does have a lot of stem work at the bottom, where I love this top beauty, but not so much at the base. And that's exactly what they're doing for my girls here. I have two banana leaf crotons. I brought these guys in at 15-gallon size. They are one of my favorite crotons, and I don't get to use them very often. And I'll tell you why. They're like a terrible adolescence. They have a bunch of attitude right in the beginning. They might drop their leaves. They might not really flesh out for a good 4 to 5 months, maybe even 6 months, because this one took a while. And then all of a sudden they take hold, and then they're beautiful nonstop from there. Like they just flesh out, and then they just have all of this gorgeous foliage to it. I hope it comes across on camera, but I see this through almost every back window of my house. It's absolutely a stunner in my space. And then when I come out to walk along this walkway path, I see them against these mammy crotons, and just makes me smile, because talk about your dark tones mixed with your light tones. These can handle 2-day-a-week watering cycles, so they do not need tons of water. This is right in my particular spot of my drought-tolerant environment. Now, if you give them a little bit more water, they might not stress as much as mine did. So next is the Madagascar palm. There's a love and hate relationship on YouTube with this particular palm. I love it. I know that there's a lot of drama with all these spikes. I know it doesn't look super friendly, but to me, I like unique things. I like sculptures in the garden, and that's what this palm does for me. And then it offers these beautiful blooms after all of the harshness of these thorns. You're thinking, what's it gonna do? And then it pops out all summer long. Pretty much deciduous, very similar to like the plumeria tree, where a lot of those leaves will fall. And then all summer long, about 10 months out of the year here in Florida, we will have leaf cover and we will have beautiful blooms. During the rest of the year, we're gonna have a lot less leaves and then obviously no blooms, but we will have still the sculpture in the garden. And that's kind of what I wanted. I love these octopus arms, and then it offers those little palm heads to them, because this is not actually a palm tree. You know, I think it deserves a spot in a tropical garden. Even as a landscape designer, I try never to put too many limitations. Obviously, I want you guys to have a symmetrical planting and things to make sense, but if there is something that calls to my clients, I fit that in, because that's what it means to have your own space. When I walk through here and I see those crazy blooms and it's absolutely gorgeous and everybody's like, oh my God, what is that? Then I know I put the right tree in the right spot. She will continue to grow. If you chop off a head, she may produce another head just right next to it. I'm so glad to have my very own in my own space. So in this next section, you guys, this is kind of like the purpose for everything else. Pulls all the other reasoning together. You know, this is the entrance way to my garden space. This is the entrance way to my waterfall area. We are walking through my drainage easement, which is pretty much Tahitian gray granite stone. And then I set some flagstone into place to kind of, you know, meander through my garden. But you do not need a big lot to create that kind of space for yourself. The best thing that you can do is create a master plan that's going to kind of get you there, and do little pockets of that over the years. And then if you're like me and you're 10, 15, 20 years later, you know, however long you're in that house, and then by the end of that, you created a garden that you can now not leave that house. Like, I could not leave this house now because I absolutely love what we created. It's not the bedrooms, it's not the walls, it's not the fans, it's not everything that I have inside. It's the outdoor space that went from this big to this whole space like this. This year, spend that on creating the backdrops. Next year, create this section. Next year, create that section, and so on. And then you get what you want at the end of the day, because, you know, landscaping is expensive, but what's great about it, it's not like buying a house all at once. You get to see it all grow in. I will never drive a Porsche, but I will have a beautiful backyard space. So, all right, so we're gonna move on to this little area right here. Now this is centered on my doorway. I knew as soon as I walked out from my back door, I not only wanted to see gardens on either side of my seating sections, I wanted to see right off the bat my water feature that is inset into the backyard slope, that's inset into the garden. I want it to feel like it's all enveloped. So what I did is make sure to leave out, there's no planting in this area other than my two Imperialis bromeliads, which are gonna stay kind of compact and small in this particular spot, and then a step down. Boulders that have been sectioned out for steps, and then they step down into the garden that allow me to walk this way or that way, or allow me to see without any type of interruption my backyard waterfall, which is the focal point of my backyard space. It is the area that I see the most out of every single seating section, and I do this with all my clients, whether it's a water feature or it's a fountain or it's a pergola or it's a specimen palm tree that you've always wanted. I put that right in the forefront. That becomes our focal point. And then we work the garden off of that, because anything will get you to grab that glass of wine at the end of your day or whatever your beverage of choice is and take that walk through your garden, because that is the thing that's going to take and decompress you. That's the thing that's going to take and make you say, oh, I don't know why I'm in here. Let me walk out here, and then just kind of come out here and sit and relax. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us in today's garden tour. If you enjoyed this one, then check out last week's garden tour of the other side of my space. And please list your favorite plant or tree that we discussed today. And I would love to know what just struck a chord with you in our particular backyard. Thank you guys so much. Take care. See you next week.